Welcome to my hometown and the glory that is Swansea Bay. It's not the clearest of days, and hopefully later on in these videos you'll see it on a clear day. And that's very appropriate, because what I want to do today is to talk about the power and glory of religion. And of course, everything's not always clear there either. Now, I'm a bit nervous talking about this subject, partly because I don't want to offend anybody, and partly because what can you possibly say that's new? So what I'm going to try and do is apply the thinking behind retrophilosophy, the methodology that we've talked about, to religion. And to kick off with, I'm going to come up with an observation. If you remember, I talked about philosophy, classical philosophy, being based on the truth, and then via constructs building up an argument, using words and logic and narrative. And I think there's a parallel there with religion, because religion starts with a truth and builds up a construct. And it's not just any old truth that religion starts off with, it's the greatest truth that mankind has, that we're not alone, that there is a higher power, that there is a divine. So that's what I want to look at. But before I go into detail on that, I just want to make another observation, which is that here I am in Swansea, a Welsh town full of chapels which are all closed. And you could argue that we're moving towards a more secular society, that religion is under attack from many different ways. In the schools in Swansea now, you're not just taught one religion, you're taught a whole comparison of religions. There's the attack from the atheistic scientists with their numerical analysis of the world, which doesn't need religion. There's an attack by historians who will look at architecturally at what actually happened, or theologically at the kind of constructs, and say, well, these things didn't happen until a lot later on. And I think even more damaging has been the use of satire and humour to mock religion, whether it's South Park having a go at Mormons, or Life of Bran having a go at Christianity. And yet this central truth of humanity survives. Religion survives as strongly as ever. With most of the religions, there's far more that unites than divides. So if you look at Christianity and Islam, yes, they have a different interpretation of Jesus, but their beliefs in God is essentially the same. And if you look at this in terms of the wisdom of crowds, the wisdom of crowds tells us that there is a truth in belief in the divine. Now, what I'm not going to do now is get into these various different versions of religions. What I am going to say, though, that if you think of religion starting off with a central truth, you then have these various constructs coming up, and the various constructs are the different religions. So if you take Christianity, for example, which I know as well as anything, then yes, the Gospels are about the life of Jesus, but there's also the Old Testament, there's the letters of St. Paul, and his thinking based as it was on the workings of Plato. So I'm going to leave it to other people to talk about constructs. What I'm going to try and do is apply retrophilosophy to that central truth of religion, that there is a divine. And what I'm going to do is follow the methodology of the introductory videos. If you remember, philosophy starts with the truth and via constructs builds the argument. Retrophilosophy starts off with what we know, often described numerically, and works us up via narratives to a new truth, or a confirmation of a truth. So what I'm going to do is look at what we now know in the 21st century, express it in numbers and scientific formulas, try and work out what the great thinkers would make of all of this, that the philosophers, the religious thinkers, the scientists, look at if there are any narratives which together start to confirm this truth, that existence does suggest a prior consciousness. So there'll be a couple more videos to come including one with my mum on the difference between atheists and believers, and I hope we'll make some progress. Bye bye.